you remember back in the day when listening to music on the go involved this nightmare? Back in 2016, before Apple announced AirPods, Bluetooth earbuds were not that great. They were mostly clunky. They were kind of tied together with some kind of cable. The audio quality wasn't great, and just the ecosystem wasn't there. It was non-existent. Then Apple came along and saw that and said, well, we can't justify removing the headphone jack from our phones if the only option that we have are these wireless ones that are just terrible. So they came along and brought in AirPods. Now, these were a solution to the problem they were creating, but honestly, it kind of worked. AirPods were immediately successful after following the already somewhat familiar design of EarPods, just with the cable cut off. It was already instantly recognizable, and it was very stark in the way that they announced them. Something that's happening recently, though, across the country, as schools are banning phones, we're starting to see an uptick of kids pulling out their classic iPods and even older phones that aren't on a network. And maybe this could be a great excuse to try and find some way to combine the olds with the new. Because I can only imagine walking around with AirPods, but having an older phone or an iPod, that would be kind of nice to have the best of both worlds. So whether you're trying to sidestep the rules just a little bit, or you're like me and you're an enthusiast that just really loves living in nostalgia, you may find this video somewhat helpful to figure out how to make this work. And it's actually not as hard as you would think. Now, the oldest phone, or at least the oldest iPhone, to support AirPods natively without any sort of jailbreak tweaks or hacking, well, that's going to be the iPhone 3GS. This was the first phone to officially support more than just phone calls over Bluetooth, but music as well. Now, this iPhone is running iOS 6.1.6. This is the latest OS available for this phone. Now, I just kind of want to show you how simple it is to set this up with AirPods and get these to pair. Jumping into settings and going to Bluetooth, this process is very similar to pairing just about any other Bluetooth device that you know of. On the AirPods Pro, on the very back, there's a button. Open up, hold the button. The white light will eventually start to flicker. And before I can even set these down, look to the side and they're already showing up on the 3GS. Tap to pair. This is all a process that's not necessarily any different from anything else. And give it a few seconds, it pairs natively. Now, you would think there'd have to be something more that you have to do, but no. You jump out, head on over into music, and right in the bottom right where the AirPlay icon is, you get AirPods as an option just like AirPlay in any other modern phone. It's still in the exact same spot. Now, what's funny is you'll notice when you pull these out of the case, you can already hear the music playing. The functionality to let it know whether it's in the ear or not for the 3GS just doesn't exist, so they just kind of play like normal headphones. Now, what does exist is just like in the olden days with this modern little clicker on headphones such as the EarPods. Double-clicking on the stem, it advances to the next track just like it would with any other phone. Same thing going back. If you triple-click, it goes to the previous track. Well, it'll start over. Another triple-click will take you to the previous track. So that still works. As well as holding, that will bring you into adaptive noise cancellation or also transparency mode. Whatever you have it set to in your actual phone carries over to this one. So a lot of functionality is missing, but at the same time, a surprising amount of functionality still works. Now it's time for the drawbacks of this phone. You've already seen it's a little bit clunky. It gets even worse when you back out and you try to choose another song. It won't play. Unfortunately, it will stop and you won't have any more music at all. Same thing goes for advancing a track or going back a track on the phone or with the AirPods. For some reason, playback just dies out. It won't continue to play. Choosing any other song just results in dead air. I don't know why the technical limitation of that exists between these two, but it does. Something about communicating, we're going to the next track to the AirPods. The handshake doesn't happen. Now, that's a pretty big pitfall. Unfortunately, I have to admit, it's not great, and it's not a good outlook for using this daily. But you have to kind of use it as like an iPod shuffle of sorts. If you throw it into a playlist and hit shuffle or let it play all the way through in sequence, it will work. It won't drop out between songs. It only breaks if you change the song. And there's no workarounds to that I know of. Outside of, in a previous video, we talked about this with another legacy device. Adding a Bluetooth dongle to this phone does solve a lot of those issues. You're not using the native Bluetooth to the phone anymore, but the pairing process, the next and back, transparency mode, all of that still works with the same dongle. You just have to add what's just kind of annoying to the bottom of it. This dongle, as mentioned in a previous video, is actually pretty neat. It also works beyond just the 3GS and goes as far back to the 2G. If you want to learn more about this, you can go ahead and watch the last video before this one. We went into a deep dive about how this adds functionality back to this phone and beyond this phone as well, to older iPods. Anything with a 30-pin dock connector can get Bluetooth that works with AirPods, as simple as tossing this onto it. But if you want to do native and you want to use the actual Bluetooth built into the phone, 3GS and above is what you're going to have, and you're just going to have to kind of figure out how to make it work around that. There are jailbreak tweaks that do exist to really help out with the AirPods process in getting this working with older iPhones. They just don't go back as far as the 3GS. I think iOS 11, off the top of my head, is as old as you can get for something that supports that. But this was just kind of a fun little experiment to see just how hard it was to get it to work. It's shocking how easy it was to kind of get something as old as this phone working with something as modern as the AirPods Pro. Two very great products that I love very much. And not only is it a challenge, but it helps with e-waste. It kind of brings a new purpose to this, especially as we're trying to go back in time, especially with the schools changing what they're doing. And we're seeing the iPods and these old phones kind of resurface. And this is a way to make them a little bit more modern and not let them waste away. So in this legacy look back that we're doing, I'm very much open to ideas to try and figure out what more we can do with these older devices to kind of bring them to a modern standard. I would love to know what your ideas are. And if there's anything you want to see explored or experimented with, you can go ahead and leave those below. And I thank you in advance.